Yard of Happiness. My name is Tam, and I'm joined by my lovely co-host, Erin Tam.
Hello.
And today, we have an amazing guest joining us. Her name is Jamie Shrum. She is a local woman-owned business owner. It's a plant and gift shop that is, honestly, if you've ever been to it, it's amazing. Very homey, very welcoming environment. The shop is called SoCal Soul, and we have her on our show today to tell us a little bit about how she got to being a woman who was previously in the corporate world and is now transferred into her own business in this creative space. Welcome to the show, Jamie.
Welcome.
Start by just telling us a little bit about your background and how you ended up where you're at today.
Sure. Well, hi, everybody.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. My background is the opposite of everything I'm doing now, is the short answer. I was one of those people who never really knew what I wanted to do with my life and worked kind of odd jobs, went to college for a little bit for studio art, then dropped out and ho-hummed away my life. Hit the check boxes along the way and got to the point where I was in the corporate world for almost a decade. And yeah, just started, the burnout was setting in and decided it was time to pivot. COVID happened. I was already kind of introduced to the outdoor gardening, vegetable gardening, killed off a ton of houseplants, and then had the audacity to think, let's do this for a living. So, the quick nutshell was I left the corporate world behind, went back to school for horticulture, and started doing everything that scared me, facing all my fears, and diving in headfirst into the journey of houseplants and but it became bigger than that, I guess, is the notion that I discovered along the way, connecting with other women who were feeling burnt out too, and looking at it more than just plants, but how could this be green therapy for us all?
Green therapy.
It's an incredible story. One, kudos, like that is so brave. And I feel like you can inspire a lot of people. A lot of people can relate to that story. I know I personally can too. Was there a moment, well, one, did you always love plants? I guess, was that something that was always a hobby for you? And then I would love to know was there a pivotal moment that helped you make that decision to make that shift in your life?
Yeah, great question. So it was not, plants were not always something that I paid attention to by any stretch. I did grow up in Southern California, so plants were a year-round beautiful thing. My grandparents had them everywhere on their lanai and Laguna Beach, in their place in San Diego. So like my exposure to plants was profound and beautiful, but as a child, you don't really appreciate it. You take it for granted. It's no different here than, oh, that's another boxwood bush sitting outside someone's house. But I was enchanted. There was a certain enchantment to it. I loved being outside. I loved nature just in general, but I couldn't articulate it. You know, as a child, you don't really know what that is, but I appreciated the sunshine and the difference it made. So fast forward to later, kind of that transition of let's turn this into something more, was the office that I worked at had a community garden, and as a part of accounting, they encourage people to go out there and work in the garden. Some good old country gals were like, you should come out and try this. And this was like 2013. And I was like, okay, if you want to pay me for getting my hands dirty, why not? And then it was almost like this weird unfurling of like these memories of being a kid, of like, oh, I really like not staring at multiple computer screens. I really like not having to juggle emails and be sitting in meetings all day. But it was just like a fleeting moment, a fleeting thought, and then back to work. But year after year, it kind of kept going. And I thought there was something to this. A couple of years in, though, they turned that sweet community garden into a gravel parking lot to expand for a fab shop.
Oh, no.
And so then it was like, okay, now it's on me. And we had a home at the time that had a vegetable garden already established. Again, I didn't tell anybody what I was doing. I thought, if I throw some seeds in the ground and it takes off, awesome, fine. If this all goes to hell, no one will know. You know, I'm doing zero research, making zero effort to really understand it. And that was kind of like a weird universe wink at me. Like, despite my ignorance, things grew. And I was like, ooh, I really like this. Coming home after work and just going to the garden, my kids coming out there, my son especially, working alongside him and how much he enjoyed it. So it kind of opened up this other part of myself, which I think as we age, there's just different chapters of our lives and we don't see them coming necessarily. You can't prepare for them. but they just kind of hit you organically. And that was one of them. But here in, 6 months out of the year, it's winter. So then what? House plants. So took the hobby inside and killed everything I brought home. But then got curious about it. Fast forward, like I said, COVID was kind of the real deal for, I think, most of us. That was the moment of reflection and pause. We were home. So I had a lot more access to my garden throughout the day. I could kind of sneak away and get that sunshine, get that green, kind of breathe in that fresh air, get away from the computer. And that helped a lot with my mental health at that time. And knowing other women who I worked with who were at home facing the same thing, communicating like this over Zoom, we were all just stuck, and encouraging them to go out and do green things. Garden centers were also the only thing open at the time. They were outdoors. You could be 6 feet apart. So it just kind of became this natural curiosity and progression.
It's really interesting because there's a couple of things that you've said along the way here that I want to call back to. One of them being you noted that when you were going through to your original corporate career that you were checking boxes. And I feel like that is a really relatable statement that a lot of women our age can say, that they just felt that that's what life was just, here's your to-do list. I need to get to college. I need to be high honors in college. I need to get a career, and then I need to get married, and I need to have kids. Like, there's these check boxes, right? And you were doing that. You were doing what you were conditioned to essentially do. And then in your corporate career, you had these elder women who were trying to guide you a little bit on how to pull back into like the greens and the hands-on. And you said it actually called back to being a child a little bit. Yeah. Which in this show, I have learned that there's a lot of moms, women who truly kind of, I think, veered away from childhood interests because we were conditioned to feel that we could only pursue those if those were going to benefit us as high executive women financially, right? And it's so interesting how, despite your best efforts to ignore plants kept coming back to you, and you always kind of seem to have been drawn to them. When you were, I guess I'm trying to put myself in your shoes, and how scary was it for you to look at all the things that you had accomplished as, being in that corporate world and realizing this doesn't feel like me. This doesn't feel like home. Like, were you putting that into words to yourself that this is just not home?
Right. Yeah. So I think all of us, we get into the checkboxing, we get into the careers, and you kind of become on autopilot. We're just doing, and things are evolving, and that's fine. And it's exciting, but there's still like that inner dissatisfaction, I guess maybe is the word. And for me, when you check those boxes, you kind of think there's this illusion that a certain amount of happiness will come with them. A certain amount of fulfillment will come with them. And so as I got higher and higher in this position in this company, two things happened. And I think that was kind of a critical thing. And I think it's important for the audience to think in their own lives about these moments, as sometimes it's not just the vision of like what could be, it's also like the pushing of the frustration of where you're at.
Ooh,
goosebumps. So I once heard it phrased that the pain pushes and the vision pulls. And that was something for me that happened, where I got up to this certain ranking, and then it became, I hate all of this. I hate all things. I was in an environment that was, heavily male dominated. And so it just felt very cold. I mean, I was literally ordering pipe for a living for prestigious, wonderful places. And I worked with wonderful people, so I don't want to discount that.
Sure.
But it was almost like my soul was just saying I had a dissatisfaction where on paper I should have been thrilled. I got this great 401k and I have all these benefits and, I've got this nice title and office and all these things, but you get up there and you're like, this is empty. Wait, this is not what I thought this would be.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then throughout that same time, the steps mirrored with the plants and meeting other women who were struggling in the burnout. And you get to that point where you're like, man, I don't think I can go another day here. So we've got to figure something else out for our mental health and our sanity. And that's where it was kind of like, whatever your passion is, all of a sudden it's like, well, let's research. How can we turn this into something? And then start pushing all your attention there. And yeah, it's terrifying. There's no short answer. I mean, it's so scary when you're like, I'm giving up some consistency, this paycheck, all these things to go back to, for full disclosure, to working part-time minimum wage.
Yeah. But you know what? Your story is so inspiring because isn't that what life's about, is like living creatively and in a fulfilling life and being happy. That's what we're focused on, is finding joy in our lives. It really is so inspiring to hear your story and how far you've come. I guess fast forwarding to now, do you feel like you are in a place that you are feeling very fulfilled? And I guess, would you tell us a little bit about SoCal Soul?
Sure. Yeah. The short answer is yes. It's incredible. I will never go back to the way it was. That's for sure. You get a taste of being your own boss. You get a taste of the creativity. And it's the good, the bad, the ugly. I mean, in the beginning, you're wearing all the hats. You are the janitor, you are HR, you are advertising, all the things. But it hits different when you really do enjoy what you're doing. And I heard it 1,000 times from other people, and it never clicked for me because I just hadn't found my thing. But now that I feel like I have, it's huge. So SoCal Soul, again, name based for where I grew up, Southern California, and the fact that I feel like it's always in my soul. It's a piece of me.
I love that. Yeah.
I think I try to make it bigger than just I didn't want it to be a retail spot. You're not just coming in, getting a plant and rolling out. I wanted it to feel like community. I wanted it to feel like support. I wanted it to feel like you can come in unashamed of your crusty, dying, Monstera, and just feel love and support for you know what, it's okay. Let's fix this baby up. We've got our potting bar available anytime the shop is open. So you can bring stuff in. We repot it for you. We talk you through the care. We talk you through why it needs what it needs. You can pick out plants in store and pot them up. We diagnose disease and nutrient deficiencies and pests and all those things. So it just feels like support, because when I was getting into plants, you would Google, and I tell the story every time to people in our workshops, you Google yellow leaves and it says both underwatering and overwatering. And I'm like, well, which is it? I don't know what I'm doing wrong. And so it could be very frustrating. So we just want to be a place of support. And then the magical thing that I didn't anticipate happening is the connection with other people. And again, primarily women is our demographic. I'm within a certain age bracket, and having these conversations where this was a plant that my mother passed down to me or got when I was born, or, my grandma died and it's now in my care and I don't want to be the one to kill it, So talking about the feelings and emotions and stories behind the plants is part of the beautiful journey that we love. And we offer workshops and classes, and we have a community garden out back. So all those things that I just feel are a way to connect. That human connection is such a vital component of what we do.
I think that's incredible. There's a hot topic that we talk about a lot on our podcast, and it's kind of around is it a good idea for your hobby to then become your job or to monetize hobbies?
Yeah, great question.
And you essentially did that, right?
Yes.
Do you feel that there has been a difference in how you approach your current hobby, the now profession? And if you are still getting joy from that hobby, did you have to pull in a new hobby to kind of give you a different out of work activity?
Right. The beautiful thing is that it's an evolution. So yes, there are days initially starting it because I want to play with plants. I want to pot stuff up. I want to explore them. I want to discover new cultivars and varieties and just experience the joy that they bring me. But yes, there are days where I am working from home. I've got a staff and I'm doing the taxes and I'm trying to figure out the legalities behind the things and new hires and all that stuff and the paperwork. It's not as fun but it's not apples to apples. So I look at it more of the bigger picture of creating. You're a creator. Whatever your hobby is, innately as humans, we are creators. And so whatever that looks like for you. So the store is phase one, right? Playing with plants, phase one. But then as I started going, new things started to evolve. So your hobby may look like one central thing, but it's really a bunch of things. And as you start going, you start finding other little shoots of it that you love and explore. And so no, I don't ever feel stuck, and I don't ever feel like I've monetized my hobby and now I'm angry about it, or it took the joy out of it. No, it's evolved into other avenues.
It sounds like you've developed a really amazing community, and we definitely need to come visit and come take one of your classes.
Yes.
No, I think it's amazing that you talk about how there's shoots. That's my favorite word that you use next.
Yeah.
It almost seems like plant terminology.
Yes.
She's literally like, she embodies the plants, which I love. I think it's really interesting because, like I said, that's a hot topic. People are kind of like, what do I do with my hobby when I get it? And I think that's an interesting perspective that we haven't really pulled into the show, is the idea that like your hobby can almost have like a center bubble that then has like little bubbles that come off of it that can maybe fill in different things even after you monetize it.
Absolutely.
So I think that's a great point to point out, because I had not thought of it like that before. So that was really interesting.
Well, it seems like the one thing that I keep thinking is like, it really seems like you're really good at following your intuition. Like even way back when you started getting those glimmers of thinking about plants and how they brought you joy, and how you just kind of like it almost, I mean, I'm sure it wasn't easy, but like, it seems like it was a natural progression on how that all happened. And it seems like you've built that muscle in your brain, and you just keep following that intuition, and it's just adding to your success, but also adding to your joy. And I just think that's just something we could all benefit from, is just like, it's all about slowing down, right? It's like,
and that would be my encouragement to anybody out there. If you've got a hobby, is we get very tunnel vision about the one aspect we think it can do or supply or offer. And think of it as like walking across like a wooden planked bridge in fog. You can't see the next plank in front of you. You just have to trust it's there. And that intuitiveness that I think women especially have comes into play. And you just take the next step, despite being afraid, despite not knowing where it's coming from. You take your baby steps, and you just admit to yourself, I don't know the answers. I've never worked retail in my life. I do not have a degree in business. No one in my family has done this before. We don't have any entrepreneurs. And so like all that doubt comes in, I think, with women in our hobbies, and we justify why we don't do it. And we stop ourselves from providing a great benefit to our community and to our circle by just letting fear hold us back. And there are plenty of reasons, and there's plenty of times and all the things. But at a certain point, you'll feel that tug, and you'll know it's time. And I promise you just got to trust to take that one scary step forward. I once heard the quote, "Everything you want is on the other side of fear." And I've kind of lived by that, and it's proven to work out. And I still have to remind myself, because I've got big plans. There's still things I want to do that I think, how am I going to do this? Oh my God, this is terrifying. I don't have the money. I don't have the resources. I don't know the people. I got to trust that somehow, if it was put in my head, like if it's put in your head out there to do something, the things will come, the people will come. We just got to kind of relax a little bit.
Jamie, you're awesome.
Yeah, you are.
All of your quotes.
You've given
that. I'm like, we're going to have so many sound bites from this episode. It's going to be amazing.
I was totally thinking that. You've really put it in.
She's incredible. Jamie, well, there's a question I want to ask. So you kind of slightly mentioned that when you were first getting into like the garden that was outside of your corporate office, that it was actually some older women that kind of pulled you in to be out there with you. I would assume that was kind of like your first dabble into like a community of gardeners. Do you think that inspired you to want to make sure that SoCal Soul also created that community vibe and held on to that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think generationally, I think it's very important that we have people in our lives who can help us and guide us, who have the experience. And so, leaning on those women, seeing them and seeing the joy, and trusting, well, they're several decades ahead of me. They must know something, they seem to be smiling. What is it that's making them smile? And even if for a brief minute, it was just 30 minutes pulling weeds in a vegetable garden, somehow that fulfilled them. And that was intriguing to me. So again, I think it's important especially as I reach middle age, just to embrace it and say, okay, 20-something-year-olds, like girls who are going into dorms, who, want to have plants, who might feel lonely, who are going off to school, like, let's find you a really easy snake plant or something that will just, kind of be your buddy if you can't have a pet or animal around, just something to live for, something they're living creatures, these organisms, these plants. So it gives you that energy. So for me, I think that's huge, to create a community where you're giving back and reaching both higher and lower decades.
I agree. I really think that hobbies, in my opinion, and in my experience in kind of exploring the hobby world, I really find that the hobbies that have the most happiest community are the ones that are diverse across the generations.
Yeah.
There's no gatekeeping. It's very much like, I'm here to know that I could pull more information from the generation above me. I can't wait to share with the generation below me. You talked about the girls in the dorms that need some plants. They do. And they're busy too. And their plants are going to die just like mine. We can share
and
this
it's
in
okay.
common.
And I love that you talked about bringing your kids into it, right? You sound like your kids are involved too with like helping, or like you share that with them at home too, the garden.
Oh yeah. So for my son, who at the time when I got into it was, early elementary, really early, and to find out he was ADHD and being diagnosed, and how do we figure out how to create a world where he can process things? And taking him outside all of a sudden by happy accident was like he slowed down. His mind slowed down. He was exploring. He was getting his hands dirty. He was digging up worms. He was eating the berries that we were growing, and he got to see where they came from. And so there was a real connection there for him. And I thought that was very important, because in our busy day and age, we just grow, kids assume that all the stuff comes from the grocery store, right? Like it's hard to find farms where you can really, we do U-picks in the fall and stuff like that. But yeah, just to show them that you can grow this in your backyard and you can eat what you grow, and it's that simple. I think it's important. Most cultures have multi-generations a part of them. I think America is one, and especially in our current state, we isolate ourselves. You don't live near your grandparents. You don't maybe see your nieces or nephews often. And so anytime you can kind of supplement that, to your point, and find people around you, whether it's through a hobby or a club or something where you're getting multiple generations involved, there's so much to be gained from that.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you said that you noticed a change in your child when you kind of got into the garden. Do you think your child would say they've noticed a change in you since you've kind of taken on this journey?
Yes. Yeah. Tender moment, to be candid, I didn't like who I was at the end of. I know,
I kind of am tearing up right now. I'm so sorry.
I didn't like who I was at the end of my corporate days. I was stressed. I would come home stressed. I didn't want to talk to my kids. I just wanted to go be in my garden, be left alone. I didn't have anything left to give them. I was just depleted. And I think they sensed that. And so transitioning into this, you see mom happy. You see mom available. The flexibility to come and bring them to and hang out in the shop and to experience plants, all of those things made a huge difference. So I hope, that someday they can look back and be like, wow, mom, like
pivotal.
I know that was hard for you, going back to school and raising us and all the things, but I hope they see the value in how I show up differently for them because of it.
Well, obviously you've got us all crying.
I know, I'm crying over here. It's beautiful.
Like, I gotta pull myself together for this interview.
Yes.
Jamie, I can't thank you enough for being vulnerable in that moment, because I think what you're expressing is common, common amongst moms. Like
Mom guilt is real.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's truly real, and we fight it. And I think sometimes when moms are trying to communicate that corporate world wasn't for them, that I think the assumption is, I'm going to be a stay-at-home mom. And that's not always the answer, right? You're still a career woman. You're still very strongly involved in what you're doing. You're building this brand and this business, and you're the first person in your family to do so. That's not an easy task. But look at what the difference it is within your family, going from a trajectory that you thought you were told your whole life you needed to be in, which was just follow that corporate ladder, to I'm going to pave my own path and pave my own business and still be a strong, high-achieving woman. But now I also feel like a better version of myself, and now I'm a better version of my family. So you have such a great story that shows that just because it's not great in corporate world doesn't mean that we're saying stop and be a stay-at-home mom. You're done. It's too much.
Yeah,
it's
so true.
You can still be that high successful person who embraces their hobbies and looks for that creative path, because really it's creativity is what we're craving, and I think you found a way to incorporate it in your life to create I'm gonna cry again.
I know.
To create that version of yourself that was just that your child was able to notice. Yeah. And I just, gosh, what a great story.
Yeah, I'm so happy for you. And you can tell that you're so passionate about it. And it's just like, it's so really, I'm crying over here because it's very relatable for me. And I just totally can understand how you feel. So, and I think a lot of our listeners will too.
Absolutely.
Thank you for sharing that with us.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah. And I think that's the hidden component I didn't anticipate is that connection with other moms and women to reassure them what you're feeing is normal. It doesn't make you a bad person.
Yep.
To your point, it doesn't mean you have to go to extremes and then stay at home, and so much respect for stay-at-home moms. By, that's a lot of work, but, still, whether you're stay-at-home, corporate world, chasing your dream, whatever, carving out time for yourself. So like whatever that looks like. So I love your whole premise of the show and finding hobbies and encouraging women to pursue them, because that's what it's all about. Like, we not lose ourselves, but we sacrifice a lot for our families and our kiddos.
Yep.
And we have no regrets, but also I think there's a piece of us that just gets put on the back burner.
Definitely.
And as we age and the kids get a little bit more older and self-sufficient, you start kind of trying to circle back, and you're not who you used to be, but it's like, well, who am I now? What do I like now? And how can I find fulfillment and connection with other women, even making friends and talking to other women in our day-to-day who are not in our immediate circle can be challenging.
No, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, that's exactly what our message is and like what we're all about here. 'Cause like we can both relate to feeling like we lost who we were, and exactly what you're saying, like trying to rediscover like ourselves as people, like that we are actually our own person and we're not just caretakers and worker bees.
Not just so-and-so's mom.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. There's another way to describe ourselves. Jamie, you're a woman-owned business. I assume in your community, you are building also other business women collaborations and relationships. When you talk to those peers, do you feel that there is a consistent lack of permission to give yourself to be creative that those women experienced when they switched to being a business owner themselves?
Yes, I think for everyone, it takes time. There's like a little bit of an imposter syndrome that follows you for a minute and trying to navigate that. And that's been one of my greatest joys, is connecting with other like-minded small business women owners here around town and vendors in our store, and hearing their stories. And like you're saying, they all experience that. It's a very common thread between all of us.
Mm-hmm. Well, it sounds like it's a great way that maybe, I always talk about how my friend or my daughters, like they can always make friends so easily on this on the playground. They just go up, I have that same shirt, let's play.
Right.
I always say that it's hard to make friends as an adult, but maybe what I should be going to people and saying is like, hey, I really struggled giving myself permission for creativity. Did you? Maybe that's how I can start making friends in the area.
Like, you don't have any hobbies either? Me neither. Let's find some.
Let's find a hobby.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Jamie, I really appreciate you jumping on the show with us today. I really feel like you validated me and even got me emotional hearing your story, because it's, I think sometimes for myself, I've been on the podcast for over a year now, and I feel happy and I feel fulfilled. But sometimes I forget about what that initial transition of like relief felt like whenever I finally found what made me happy. And so to hear you express your moment, it totally took me back to my moment. And I just feel so like I got goosebumps. I feel like emotional. I can't thank you enough for just being so candid and opening up and being vulnerable, because I really think that your story is relatable. I think people feel that. I wanted to give you an opportunity to kind of tell the audience, where they can find you and how to find you. But before we do, I want to tell a story. I want to paint a picture.
All right.
It's like, what's Tamara into now? Okay. So picture, it's a hot summer day, like heat wave hot. Okay. And then the heat breaks by a summer thunderstorm that pops. But it's not like a heavy rain. It's just a little drizzle. But you can hear thunder crashing in the background. Little Tam is walking down the street of Main Street and sees this really interesting shop called SoCal Soul. You walk in and you're immediately hit with earthy vibes. You see candles lit. You can hear the rain kind of hitting the window. And you look around and you can see that there's this little table that's got a little light that's really relaxing. It's got a board game on there. You kind of walk past that. You see all these beautiful plants. There's a creative space that allows you to create your own plant. You get to pick out the plant. You get to pick out the vase. You get to pick out the rocks that go in it. You even get to pick out little trinkets, like a little unicorn that can go in your plants. And you feel warm and cozy. And then Jamie shows up and says, "Hi, how are you?" The vibe that I got from a little 10-minute walk through your shop was instant, cozy, safe, welcoming. And I just wanted to make sure that I got a chance to convey that to you, because I think you should know that what you've expressed today of what your goal is, you're achieving. I'm somebody that walked in and found that and was a part of that and instantly recognized the message that you were trying to be a part of, which is what led me to say, "Hi, Jamie, I want to talk to you."
Well, that makes my heart so happy. You have no idea. Thank you for sharing that. That's the encouragement that I think we all want to hear, and just a little bit of a confirmation that we're moving in the right step, because we're extending a little piece of joy to everyone around us through what we're doing, whether our hobbies are big or small. But sometimes we don't always know that. And so hearing that from other people means the world. Because also, some things can just become old hat and you kind of forget the magic. The first time that I walked into a greenhouse when I went back to school, it just hit me. Oh man, it just hits you on another level, seeing that many plants and just that vibe. And so being able to kind of recreate that in a kind of retail environment for people where you don't feel like I'm walking into just a store. And it should hit you. You should smell it. You should feel it. You should sense it on every fiber of your being. But ultimately, it's not me or the store, it's the plants. Like, that's the magic. It's just why we love nature, why we love parks, why we love the botanical gardens. It's just ingrained in us. So it's fabulous. And that's part of why I encourage people to have this stuff in your homes, as you see behind me. It just makes you exhale a little bit.
I can confirm that is exactly how I felt when I got to, after I had made my way to the back of your shop. It was just like, okay, I like this place. This feels good. It feels warm. And you don't always get that when you walk in stores, and you're right. It doesn't feel like I'm just walking into just an average plant shop. It feels like a space filled with joy, and a space where I could just maybe be vulnerable for a moment and connect with somebody. So I think you've got an amazing space there.
Thank you. Amazing.
I say all of that so that you can set up. So, here's where you can find me, and here's what I'm working on. So go, Jamie.
All right. Well, thank you for this opportunity. So we are located at 301 North Main Street in Edwardsville. We are in the north part of town, right across from the Wildy Theater. You can come in anytime. We are open Tuesdays through Saturdays, 10 to 6, Sundays, 11 to 4. So Monday's the only day we're closed. We do private events. You can book the space for kids' birthday parties, bachelorette parties, book clubs. So after hours, come in, soak up the vibes. You can bring outside food and drinks. We do workshops all the time. So classes and workshops. I got a bit of slacking right now. I'm getting ready to load our website with the next couple of batches. But, Houseplants 101, Propagation 101, Succulents and Sangria, Terrarium building, you name it. We try to make it fun, interactive. We incorporate other vendors and people in our community to come in as well. We work with local flower farmers and bake shops and you name it, just to provide women that opportunity for a little bit of engagement like we touched on earlier. So if you don't have friends to come with, you will find your little tribe there. Have an evening of just planting and having fun. We all kill stuff. It's okay. It's an open dialogue. You ask questions. We help you. It's a judgment-free zone, I promise you. The shop itself has tables for coloring and games and a couch. Just come in, bring your lunch, just hang out, soak up the vibes. It's what it's all about. The potting bar, as I mentioned earlier, is there. We pot stuff up for you. You can bring stuff in that is having a problem or maybe needs a bigger pot. We have a wonderful team of ladies who are just in tune with things. They love people. They love plants. They're just there to help and listen. So and then the community garden is out back, as we touched on. So stop in. I got to say, there's not a lot to grab these days between the deer and the heat. It's an uphill battle, man. But there are a few cherry tomatoes and other things left. We have a greenhouse you can come sit in and just relax. So you don't have to buy a thing. If you just need a place to come and relax and be alone, maybe,
Yes.
for your spot.
That sounds like an incredible place. Like I want to come over. Like
I was going to say, we're going to move the podcast studio to the
Yes.
back of her place.
That sounds amazing. Yeah.
Hope you don't mind, Jamie. We're recording. Well, yes, we'll absolutely make sure to have all of your links on our show so that it helps all of our audience be able to find you so much easier. Again, I can't thank you enough for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
You were incredible. So be sure to check our socials to find Jamie. She'll be available for you. But until next time, goodbye.
Bye. Thanks, Jamie. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to The Art of Hobbiness. Be sure to subscribe and leave a review. And for more Erin and Tam fun, be sure to follow us on all socials for behind-the-scenes footage on our journey to find hobbiness.